In this video, we're going to create a Django-based website with a single HTML page in it called a template file. All right, in this series of videos on Django, I'm going to start by showing you some completed code in case you need to come back and review it without watching the whole video later on. Then I'm going to show you how to write the code from scratch, and then I'll talk about any advanced topics from the video in greater detail. All right, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to use AWS Cloud9. If you log into AWS, you can just search for the word Cloud9, and it'll bring up this page, and you can click Create Environment. And what this will be is a little virtual computer that's running in the cloud that, for me, usually only costs 10 or 20 cents a week. So even if you're running on a Chromebook or an iPad or something like that, you can have a full computer with a development environment that can run a Django application running in the cloud, and it only costs you money when you're using it. So this is a really good tool to use when you're learning or even just developing generally. All right, so I'm going to just give this computer a name, call it Development Computer, and I'm using an account that is integrated with AWS's free academic division, and I don't know if this is going to be the same for every account, but for this particular one, the one thing I have to do is change the connection type to secure shell and just click create. Okay, so this will be ready in just a minute. Let's talk about what the application is that we're building. So the high level idea for this one will be that I want an HTML page for a job application. And so there's going to be a form on that HTML page, and it's going to look like this. An individual will type in a URL without anything after the domain name. I know that's a terrible looking domain name, but they will type in a URL with nothing after it, and it will display a page that looks like this. In terms of the structure for the application, notice there is a top level folder which represents the folder for my computer that I just started. And in there, there's going to be a project folder for Django. And in that project folder, I'm going to have three other folders. There's going to be a main folder, which will be my application. There's going to be a overall administrative folder where there's a bunch of settings in there for administrating the whole website. And then, but that being said, the main files are going to be there. And then there's going to be a templates file which holds just the raw HTML pages. So that's the main structure of this application when we're done. I'm just going to skim through the different files that will be created as part of this video. So there's a form.html page, just a generic HTML form. There's a settings file for the overall setting for the application, and there's just a few different edits that we're going to make in this file. Most of this comes prepackaged from Django. We're going to create in our application a little file that says when you type in nothing, pull up a particular function. We're going to define that function right here, and this function just says display an HTML page. We're going to let the overall project know that this particular file that we just looked at right here needs to be used. We'll talk about it later. And here's a few different commands that we'll be running as part of this video, and I will leave this complete document in the description of the video when I post it. All right, so let's go ahead and do everything from beginning to end now. So I come over here and it says my environment is ready to go. So I'm going to open it. Fantastic. I'm going to close this. Open this a little bit bigger. And I'm going to grab this first command right here. So there's a program called Docker which can download what are effectively mini computers to run on top of your current computer. And in this case, the reason why we're going to download this little mini computer, a little lightweight mini computer, is because it runs the latest version of Python, which is what I want to do while I'm doing development. So I run that command, and it takes a moment to download the source for that mini computer and then launch it. As soon as it is through launching, there's going to be a little word here that says root at and some strange number, and that means that we are now running in the little virtual computer that I just downloaded. So note that these are just some files up here that came with the development environment. I don't need them currently. In fact, I could just completely delete that one because I'm never going to use it. This one is not going to be used directly by us. Okay, let's come down here, and now I'm logged into the little mini computer. So the first thing I need to do is I need to install Django. Every time I do the previous command where I download a temporary computer, I need to install Django on there. So I'll type pip install Django, and it will download Django to that computer. Wonderful. All right, let's look at one of the other commands that we should be able to run right here. Here is a command to create a project. So watch what happens when we create a project in terms of the file structure over at the left. All right, so as soon as I did that, it created a parent folder for our project and then an administrative settings folder. Every Django app needs to have another folder that's going to run the actual website, but this is the starting point when you first create your project. We can see that it's working if we make a couple minor changes here. Let's go into settings.py, and we come down here and we say allowed hosts, meaning websites that are allowed to visit this web page. So we could, by implication there, lock this down. Oh, notice I got a little save error here. Whoopsie daisies. Okay, well, we need to fix that. What happens is when I use a Django command down here to add some files, there's a permission error that I haven't looked into just yet, and so we just need to make our files writable, and that's this little command right here. Okay. Taken care of. Now everything in this folder is writable. So one more time, I'll do Control S. It got saved. Okay, so let's go ahead and launch our website. So with what we've done, we've already created a website with an admin page. I'm going to change the working directory that I'm in to go from, because right now my working directory that this little command prompt is in is right here, and I want to run a command that's right there. So I'm actually going to change my working directory to this folder. So I'll say cd project employment form return, and now I'm going to run a file that's in there. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to copy this. Actually, I don't need this little folder name in front, so I'm going to get rid of that. So I'm going to come back a little bit. Sorry about that little change there. Okay, so I have a little command here that says Python program, run this file that's in this folder using this sequence of characters I'll discuss later. But when I do that, I can click on this link and I have a website that is now up and running. So awesome. And if I click /admin, here's an admin page which I could theoretically use to do all kinds of interesting administrative related tasks for my website. But we're not going to go into there right now. The key thing is that the default stuff has been installed and it's working correctly. Okay. In order to have a Django website, we always have to create an app. And so what we can do, let me go ahead and hit Control C here, is we can type the following command. Let's go over into our little document right here. Python start app main. So the last word is the name of the application that we're going to create, or the website that we're going to create in this project. So watch what happens to my folders when I do that. Okay, now I have a main folder. And so this is where a lot of configuration is going to happen going forward. We have to do some things now, a little bit of housekeeping. Right now, the overall website, the one that we were just previewing, the project doesn't know about this folder. So we need to make the project aware of this folder, or this app, more accurately. And so first I need to find the name of this app. And if I come down here into main apps.py, this is the name of the app. So I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to go, I still have this settings.py open, but in case you don't remember, over here in the main admin portion for settings.py, I need to now scroll through here until I find right here on line 39. This is a list of installed apps. So we're going to make the overall project aware of this particular app. And by convention, meaning the way that they always write things, you have to write the name of the folder .apps. And then the name of the application that we just looked up. Okay, so this is a good step in the right direction. And so I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And just as a side note, because I used this command right here to create this folder, the contents of that folder are not writable right now. Again, just a little bug that I haven't figured out yet. So we're just going to go ahead and fix that really quick by running this command again. There we go. So now everything in there is going to be writable. Okay. One of the things that we're also going to need to do in the overall administrative area for the website is we need to do one other thing to make it aware of this application. We need to make it also aware of the URLs that it's expecting as part of this application. So we come over here when we go to urls.py, and it's already got an entry related to that /admin that we tested before. And now we're going to say, anytime you type in really anything on this website that doesn't begin in admin, I want you to use the information that is stored in the main app and its URLs file. And it's giving me a little error right now, and it says, hey, you're using something called include, and that doesn't exist yet. Okay, so I imported a library called include, or a function called include, and now I can do that. All right, so now I just did two things that made it so that my new app is viewable by the overall project. Great. So let's go ahead and start getting to work now in the main app itself. So I'm going to go ahead and open this. And what I just did a second ago is I said, look for URL path information settings in a file in this app. And it wants a file called urls.py, even though it's not written that way. That's actually what's implied. So I'm going to click on that file name, or this folder name, main, for the app, and say new file. And I'm going to write urls.py. And then I'm going to double click on it. And in this file, I'm going to just copy and paste some stuff that I have pre-written. So what it's doing is saying anytime you type in an empty URL, like nothing after the domain name, I want you to run the following function. Now I haven't written that function yet, but I'll do it momentarily. So I'll go ahead and click save. Perfect. Now the next thing I need to do is actually define this function. So I go over to views.py, and I need to create a function that's going to ultimately bring up my HTML page. So I'm just going to copy and paste and replace what was there. So here is my function, that will return a web page. So define, and I give the function any name I want. This is the format for it. And then I say render an HTML page. Now I have not included the HTML page, but that's the task. I want to include this HTML page whenever somebody types in an empty URL at my domain name. Oops. Perfect. Okay. Now we need to actually be able to to store this form.html page somewhere. So just to make this a little cleaner, I've closed my main app. I've closed the settings administration area, and I'm going to click on the project folder, and I'm going to create a new folder up here called templates. And this is where we will typically put our HTML web pages that we call templates to be displayed in our app. And so I'm going to right click on here and add an HTML page, and I'll say new file, and I'll call this form.html, and I'm going to double click on it. And I need some source code for that. Let's see if I can copy and paste effectively from here, I hope. So I'll kind of start right there and go all the way to there. Copy, paste. All right, so there's my web page. I've done really well here. There's just one or two extra things I need to do. I've changed the nature of my website by adding this templates folder, and the overall project needs to know that I've added this file folder here, which I'm going to be using. So I'm going to tell it about it in basically two different places. So let me just shrink that up, open this, and I'm going to go to settings.py again, and this is where we do most of our work. I'm going to go down to an area called templates, and when we're working with Django, we should think of templates as being the same thing as HTML pages. Like, where are my HTML pages? And right here it says you can find my HTML pages in these directories or these folders, which is nowhere right now. So let's go ahead and add a little setting there. I'm going to copy and paste from another page. And this says, anyway, it says use your operating system to figure out where the templates folder is in this project, and we can now read from this project. It's giving me a little error message, and it says I don't know what OS is. So there's one last thing that we need to do before our project will work completely. So we need to come up somewhere at the top, and we need to say import OS, and we'll hit save, and with that everything is now working, or it should be working. So let's go ahead and test that. I'm gonna click up on my arrow key a couple times and say Python, not that one, this one, the run server command. So I type in the run server command. It looks like I have got a little error. Can't import something. Did I use a wrong name somewhere? Let's go ahead and double check, and maybe it could be that I forgot to save that file, and looks like I completely forgot to save that file. All right, let's try that one more time. It did an automatic reload and everything was fine, so nice learning opportunity there. Remember to save your files. It says click here to see your website, and I click it. Well, anyway, reloading the page, and there it is. It's exactly like I hoped. Okay, so that ends the formal part of this instruction. Let me just go in and talk about a couple things so that they're better understood. If I go into this little area right here, my settings page, notice that it says directories, and it has this long string. It's referencing a variable here called base directory. And if I come up here a little bit, It's doing a bunch of other commands that basically say what is the folder that this project is sitting in. And so at the end of the day, this little part just says what's the folder for the project, add on the folder templates, and we can use that. Let's see. Oh, what else could we talk about? Another thing that would be worth talking about in a little bit more detail is if I come down to the bottom there, and when I start my little mini computer, there's a whole bunch of syntax here. The key parts of this are Docker run, and then the last part's terminal, which means make it so the little computer is going to be responsive to typing in the little black window. And then I'm going to use a little mini computer or a Docker image called Python. And then the environment or the little language that the black window is going to understand is called bash. These other things in here are meant to help us with developing our application. We have this rm command which just says, hey, when I'm through with this computer, just throw it away. Don't use up any hard drive space or anything like that. Just throw it away, and so that the next time I run this command, I'll get the latest one once again. This P80808080 thing, this relates to the fact that because I'm running on a Cloud9 server, these are called ports, and so sometimes when we visit a website, we can type in alternative. We call these ports, kind of like channels for a television, 13, 14, 15. There's just some underlying infrastructure when we're using Cloud9, which says that we have to use port 8080 when we're using Cloud9 and doing previews and stuff like that. So if you're doing Django on your own personal computer, you wouldn't have to necessarily do some of these special things right there. And this -v and -w, pwd, that's just some magic related to making it so that when we start the mini computer, it's going to load the mini computer up into memory, but the hard drive for it is going to be stored in there. So if you run these commands without typing in that stuff, then all of the files that you edit in the little mini computer, they would get thrown away when you throw away the mini computer or when you close it. And we don't want that to happen. We want to save all the little files that we're running here semi-permanently in Cloud9. All right, and so just for giggles here, if I wanted to just stop this, I could hit Control-C and my web server stopped. If I reloaded, I would get an error now. And if I were to click type exit, then I would be back to my working directory on the Cloud9 computer itself. And if I wanted to get back into my Django project once again and start running it again, I could just click up and see the command that I had run before. There we go. So now I'm back in the little mini computer, and because this is a new mini computer, even though it sees these files, it doesn't remember Django. So I would do pip install Django, and it'll take a minute to download that. And then I need to change my working directory to be cd, and I'll just do pro, and I'll hit tab, and it knows which folder's there. And within that folder is the manage.py program, which I can use to start my web server. So I come back here, and I'm going to grab this command again, but I don't need the folder name in there because I just changed my working directory. So if I didn't do cd a second ago like I just did, I could type in the command just like I have pasted it in here. But since I did cd into there, I do this, and I'm back up and going again, and my website is working once again. So I hope this easy tutorial is very helpful to you. Have a great one.